Welcome to a history tour of the Adelaide Showground. Hang on a minute, that's not the Adelaide Showground. Did you know that the first two shows were held in December 1840 and March 1841, and they were held in the yard of Fordham's Hotel in Grenfell Street? In today's terms, that's where the Regent Arcade fronts onto Grenfell Street, so the hotel doesn't exist anymore. That set the pattern for two shows a year, one in the autumn, which was largely for produce, and the livestock show in the spring, which catered more for animals. And this happened with only a few exceptions until 1923, when the shows combined and were held in the spring. The image you're looking at is an artist's depiction of the 1841 exhibition of the Agricultural Society at Fordham's Hotel. In 1844, the Society held their first livestock and produce exhibition in a large marquee under the gums in Botanic Park. That's on Frome Road, so near Adelaide University, at the back of the zoo, where the old entrance to the zoo was. These tent shows, as they were called, continued on until the first exhibition building was constructed for the 1860 show. That was the year that an evening program was introduced with a fireworks display. So the first fireworks display was in 1860, and of course, still very much part of our show today. In time, the Botanic Park site got too small. No, we didn't move to Wayville yet. The move was made across the road to the grounds of Adelaide University, where the Jubilee Oval and Jubilee Exhibition Building was established. And the shows were held there from approximately 1895 to 1924. And that takes us to, here we are at Goodwood Road. These are the Ridley Gates. So John Ridley's stripper of 1843 was the world's first successful mechanical grain harvesting machine. This invention speeded up the reaping process on the farm and reduced the numbers of labourers needed to harvest the crop. It helped to lift the South Australian economy out of the depression of the 1840s and went on to play an important role in the colony, becoming the granary of Australia. These impressive gates were opened by the Governor on the 1st of September 1933. So think of that next time you enter the gates ready to go into the Royal Adelaide Show. So as you can look in, you can see the Goyder Pavilion, and it's at this site that Centennial Hall used to sit. So Centennial Hall was built and opened in 1936 to celebrate the centenary of South Australia. It was a beautiful and dominating Art Deco building and hosts many concerts in Adelaide, most prominently the Beatles when they visited. Centennial Hall was demolished in 2007 and the Goyder Pavilion was officially opened in 2008. So I've just walked through the atrium, which now, of course, has all of the new pavilions where you can go and get your show bags or see the horticulture and handicraft. But back up until only 1961, you used to be able to see the poultry and pigeons. And also the motor pavilion was on the other side as well. So you'd be walking through the poultry and pigeons and see some beautiful cars on your way through. It was also home to dogs and poultry at one stage. So that would have been a pretty rowdy pavilion. So this is the Secretary's office in the middle of the showgrounds. And this was built in 1925. So the Wayville area was purchased by the government in 1911 with the intention of shifting the showgrounds to make way for the expanding Adelaide University. But it wasn't until 1925 that the first show was held on the site. So now I'll take you to the Sterling Angus Hall. And this is a banging building. So the Lancelot Sterling Hall and the Angus Hall look like one building today, but they are actually built in two lots. So Lancelot Sterling was built in 1955 and was called the Arcade Restaurant Building, and it was renamed the Lancelot Sterling Hall in 1962 after Sir J. Lancelot Stirling, who was a president of the Society for quite a few years, from 1891 and then 1892 and then 1926 to 1932. So now you would know it as the place that houses the poultry and pigeons right next to the carnival rides. But back then it was used as a cafeteria during the show. It had balls and dinners and exhibitions during the year as well. And there we go. You can see the dog pavilion in the background and the car park, which during showtime, of course, has all of those loud and whirring carnival rides. So it might seem strange for you to see that there's nothing happening on the site at the moment, or it looks very, very quiet, but there have been other years when no show was held. The first was in 1852, and that was when South Australians crossed the border into Victoria to try their luck in the goldfields. The other ones were in 1915 and 1916 due to the First World War, and 1919 because of the influenza epidemic. And during World War II, 1940 to 1946 inclusive, and that was when the entire Adelaide Showground site was occupied by the military. So there's the awesome CWA building where you can get your scones during showtime. Of course, they have an amazing history of their own. So I'm taking you down to the Sheep Pavilion. The Sheep Pavilion, actually, building started in 1915 and work finished in 1917. So even though we didn't move to the site until 1925, work was still being done since 1913, 1914, when a couple of pavilions were erected and a drain was put in. So here is this amazing Sheep Pavilion with the fancy brickwork and really great architecture. And here is the first building that was built on the site for the Royal Adelaide Show. The Brick Dairy, or the Dairy Cattle Pavilion, was built in 1915. It was originally built for horses, but it was never used for that purpose. It was more suited for dairy cattle, so they moved them in, and that's what it's been known as ever since. And here we are going past the brand new Adelaide Showground Caravan Park, and this is the horse area during the show, and there are still some horse stables up on the right of screen that are part of the original horse area. And here we are on the main arena, the place where those awesome grand parades happen every year during show. This was also the home of the West Adelaide football team from 1928 until 1936. Here are the grandstands, the members' grandstand and the public grandstand, built in 1925 and 1926. And you may be able to see just that little bit of red seating up there on the left. That was actually made for the Queen when she visited in 1954, the royal visit of the Queen and Prince Philip to the showgrounds, where hundreds of children put on a spectacular display. You can see the video on YouTube of children and bands playing in formation. It's just brilliant. We're out of the main arena. We're back passing the Adelaide Caravan Park. Adelaide Showground Caravan Park, and we are heading up towards the Wayville Pavilion, where they're now taking deliveries for the wine show. This is the Wayville Pavilion, where you can get your show bags during show time, so it looks a bit different now. Here's Amelia. She's loading some wine in for the wine show. So the wine show is held in the last week of September. The first wine competition was held in 1845, and in that year there were only two entries, a red wine and a white wine. There have been separate wine shows though since 1871. In those days, the early days, the society arranged for instruction and competitions also in the art of pruning. So we're heading up to the Ferris wheel now. The Ferris wheel is 51 years old this year, so last year celebrated the big 50. Over here, this was where the Agricultural Hall used to sit, and then the Mad Mouse. So the Mad Mouse, a very popular roller coaster, It was installed in 1963 and dismantled only in 2007 to make way for new development in the area. So we'll head down towards wood shopping. You've got the Art Deco Savings Bank of South Australia, or Bank SA, on your right. Past the groovy 1960s Stock Journal building. And there we have my home, the Elders Pavilion. So that's the home of the Show Museum and also the Royal Agricultural and Horticultural Society Archives. There's the old ram shed, the Heavy Horse Memorial, and you can see the beef cattle there. And also one of my favourites, there's wood chopping. So the first wood chopping competitions in South Australia started in 1905. There are some beautiful photos of men chopping wood in their socks. In 1991, Adelaide became the first Australian Royal Show woodcutting event to allow women to compete in their own competition. The women-only Jill double-handed sawing handicap was won by Lisa Duria and Shelley Larcombe. 4 years earlier, in 1987, 16-year-old Tanya Escort from Victoria became the first female to take part in woodcutting at the show. And it was in the following year, 1988, that the Jack and Jill double-handed sawing contest, where men and women partnered to compete, was introduced. Thank you so much for coming on this history tour of the Adelaide Showground. I hope you've had a great time. Of course, there's 181 years of Royal Agricultural and Horticultural Society history, and I can't talk about all of the great memories. But you can head online to the new online show museum at rahshistory.com.au. I'm constantly uploading new, old photographs and images for you to have a look through, and also the museum will be open soon to have a look at, and you're welcome to come and have a visit. So please comment on the socials to share your favourite memory, event, building of the Adelaide Showground, or drop us a line, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you and hear about the happy memories that you have at the Royal Adelaide Show and Adelaide Showground. Thank you.